And good evening. Glad you could join us today. We have a little bit to talk about today. We were going to talk about the volcano Thera eruption, um, which we will do, but not today. Uh, Other stuff came up, and we decided to go off script, as Alyssa would put it. First, I wanted to say farewell to a very dear friend of mine and a mentor of mine. I worked underneath him as a volunteer when I started getting into archaeology. Dr. Gabriel Markai. Uh, he was he taught pretty much all the Jerusalem universities, um, and one of the top biblical archaeologists out there. Now, when I say biblical archaeologist, don't get it wrong. It's not about the Bible. What that means is that he did archaeology in the lands that are mentioned in the Bible. And that's where the term comes from, biblical archaeology. It's its own category, like Egyptology is about just Egypt. Whereas biblical archaeology can actually fall over into Egypt. Why? Because it's one of the biblical countries. And so I worked with Dr. Barkai on the Sifting Project. The Sifting Project was a situation where one day they decided they were going to build a mosque, an underground mosque on the Temple Mount, and decided to take out like 400 dump truck loads of dirt from underneath Temple Mount and throw it into a dome. And Zaki, one of the students of Gabriel Barkai, says, "Hey, there might be artifacts inside that dirt." And he started going in and sifting through the dirt in the dump, in which he immediately got arrested for illegal digging at an archaeological site. Well, over in Israel, you cannot put in a fence without having an archaeology team there present. And I'm not saying that to be sarcastic or to kind of play light. You literally need an archaeology team if you're going to dig up or turn up any dirt whatsoever. Well, he didn't get a permit to go out there and dig through the dirt. And so Dr. Gabriel Barkai went down and pulled the permit, got what he needed, and said, "Hey, there's a good chance there's artifacts in that dirt that came off from the Temple Mount," and they started sifting through it. And they developed what was called wet sifting. Up until that time, all sifting was done was dry sifting. You see it where they take the dry sand, they put it on the sifting trays, and they shake it, and stuff falls through. And whereas wet sifting is they're rinsing everything off with water. And they've been finding stuff, miraculous stuff, in other archaeology sites all over by using this new method, wet sifting, that Dr. Barkai came up with. Well, I worked with him on one of those sites. They called it the Sifting Project, and it was sifting through all the dirt that came in from the Temple Mount, and they found some remarkable stuff there. I found rocks, but everyone else found remarkable stuff there. But it was still a privilege and an honor, because even though I didn't find anything major, I did eliminate stuff for them to have to look through. So that is important. A lot of people don't understand. You got to go through everything. No stone left unturned, no piece of dirt left unsifted. You go through everything and make sure you find everything. And this is where they found like the half shekel, which is mentioned in the Bible, and they found a beautiful seal. We've seen a lot of seals today at the DIA, and we'll talk about that. And this is what they found there was canonical seal on the Temple Mount. This would have gone back to 10th century BC or BCE, depending on how you like to look at things. And this was during the time of David. And what they're finding is that, as some people used to believe, that the Temple Mount at the time of David was not a city. There was nothing there. It was not a metropolis, so to speak, where people from other parts of the world were coming to. It was just run by goat herders and local warlords. What they found is a lot of business happening on top of this Temple Mount during the time of David. So it was a metropolis. It was a city to be reckoned with. The city of David was a place where people were going to. And so they're finding all sorts of stuff. And they're finding artifacts from the Roman Empire. Let's face it, the Temple Mount's been there for a long time.
Absolutely.
And so they're finding stuff from modern day, from the time of the starting of the Ottoman Empire back to the Muslim raids where they took over the area, to the Christian raids and all the different time periods. They're finding all these beautiful artifacts. So it was a privilege to work on him on that site with him. But what I learned most from Dr. Barkai is this, and this goes over into our project, is no artifact should ever be overlooked. And we know from our experience, if the artifact doesn't fit the narrative, there are those that want to overlook them immediately.
Absolutely.
They don't want to ask the questions. They don't want to say, why is this possibly there? You and I were, so let me finish off with this. To the family of my dear friend, Dr. Gabriel Gavi Barkai, you have my sympathies. I will miss the humor and the dedication that Dr. Barkai had, and how much he has done, not just for biblical archaeology, but archaeology overall. His wet sifting concept is being used all over the world now. It's done wonders. It's become now a must for sites, and it's never been done before. So, goodbye, Dr. Barkai. So you and I, we went to
We did a little field trip today.
yeah, we went to the DIA. I had some business up there to take care of. That's all I want to say about that right now. But I had some business to take care of up in the DIA or near the DIA. Is that a good better way to say it? So, then we went and we started checking out some of the different exhibits. And the first exhibit I loved taking people to, and it was the very first exhibit in the museum I took you to,
Yeah.
was that of Tiglath-Pileser. They couldn't use the Arabic name of the king, but he was the first real emperor of the Asian Empire. I mean, he's the one that really spread it out, and he started putting in what's called satraps, which are just little mini kingdoms. And he said, hey, I'll make you the king of this area, and you're free to do whatever you want. Just make sure you pay your taxes. You know? And as long as people were peaceful and they paid their taxes, he was happy. Of course, if he would go into an area, they'd honor him and treat him as the emperor. But he came up with that whole concept, and that went over into the Alexandrian Empire. That concept went over to the Roman Empire. That concept, became the new how-to.
Basically said, I'm charging this land, and if you pay taxes on
You
it.
pay taxes, I'm going to leave you alone. Yeah. As long as you, now, in New York, when someone comes up and say, hey, give me, a monthly check for $5,000 and I'll leave you alone. They call them mobsters.
I was gonna say,
But you sit there and all of a sudden you put a flag over it and you're the government.
we don't want to say anything too much.
Oh, yes, I do. But so we went and we saw this, and the image of the king or the emperor is he's standing and he has a line of people pay homage to him. And there's a few things interesting about it. Is Tiglath is holding a bow, but he doesn't have any arrows. And generally, what that means is when you've got an empty bow, so to speak, it meant that you conquered the area through peaceful means. And so the idea with this lineup is peaceful means, and the first one bowing down before him in the land, of course, is someone from Judea. You can tell by the headdress the person is wearing. And then after that, you have people from all different lands, and you were very quick to pick out some of the design changes, even in the carving on the uniforms of the people lined up. And all of a sudden, hey, this one is from the area of Macedonia, this one's Greek, this one's, and so it's a good catch. And then there's a few of them in the picture where if you look at them, they're fighting hand, they're sword hand. And the carving is missing a thumb. And that also meant something. It meant that, okay, he took the place over by peaceful means, except I don't trust you, so to keep you from drawing your sword on me, I'm cutting your thumb off. I still consider that peaceful.
You don't have the thumb, you can't have a sword fight.
Right. Absolutely right. So that's the first, normally when I take people through that, that's the first place I let to go. Then right next to that is this eagle-headed guardian, winged guardian. He's got what is very obviously, he's holding, people think it's bread, but if you look at it, it's maize, it's corn.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's holding that, and he's holding the purse in the other hand, or a pouch. And that's definitely found in the area of Mesopotamia. But what I find so amazing about that is they found an almost identical carving, stone carving, wall carving, in Mesoamerica, South America
Okay.
area. Identical, except that the hands are switched. The hand holding out the corn is on the inside of the figure and not on the outside. The one we saw today,
Okay.
it's out on the outside. Can you put up some of these pictures you got later?
I can put some of these up on websites.
Right, so they can see that. So you start seeing some diffusionism, so to speak. You start seeing some commonalities. When you take a look at the two different pieces, of course, they don't show them together at the DIA because it doesn't fit the narrative, but they're both available online to see. But we saw a lot of stuff that spoke of diffusionism today. What was really interesting is all the neat markings we saw in the Egyptian section.
Yeah.
And I hope Charlie's watching this.
I just talked to him a little bit ago. He said he was jumping on live. Hi, Charlie, if you're out there this evening.
Okay. Charlie is up in Name, which is
No.
Name.
Nemo.
Name. He's going to text you and he's going to tell you outright it's Name. Which means sturgeon in Ojibwe.
Yeah.
That's actually part of the name. Name. It means sturgeon in Ojibwe. Talk to Charlie, he'll tell you that. He's up at the Name Inn.
We've talked about Charlie quite a bit. We've had him on the show.
He's my new best friend.
Yeah, he's definitely become very, very close to us and very close to our project.
Well, I'm probably his best friend. I'm probably the only person that ever brought up Scotch to his bar and got him drunk.
I don't know about your laws with that one, but well,
It was off the clock,
yeah.
and he wasn't serving.
Right.
And I wasn't tipping. Literally, I stayed firm on my chair. No. Hi, Charlie. But when I took you into the Egyptian section, we started looking. I'm saying, "Do you recognize this?" And we said, "I've seen that somewhere." Like that. It said, "Think of the Macintosh stone." And what was your
Oh, absolutely.
response? Is absolutely. We went through and found every single symbol, Charlie, except we didn't find one, but it's a popular one. I'm not worried about it. It just wasn't in those particular pictographs and hieroglyphs. We didn't see the spider.
Oh, yeah.
But everything else there, the eye, the ring, the circle, everything, identical. So anyone who's ever questioned me on whether or not the markings on that Macintosh stone is Egyptian,
There's no question.
there is zero question. And you don't, it doesn't matter how many times I hear that I'm right. I love it. Even when I say it to myself, it's just, it's always good.
Well, and looking deeper into the Egyptian section today, we were able to look at, examples of cartouches and things like that.
Right.
And you're able to see that, the line underneath cartouche,
Yep.
meaning royalty.
Royalty or deity.
Right. And so we were able to see that as well today. So looking at the Egyptian section really confirmed everything that Macintosh told us.
And then, now you caught a little symbol in the Egyptian symbol, and then I pointed out that the symbol you saw was also very popular within the Mesoamerican and Mississippian and Hopewell art. And that is, well, you called it something different. You called it a swastika. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And so.
Was that the Egyptian section? Or
That was in the Greek section.
That was in the Greek and Roman section.
Right. But then we noticed in some of the hieroglyphs, another piece of art that we've seen a lot on the Newberry tablet.
Was it the Newberry tablet? Yeah.
Yeah, we saw it on the Newberry tablet, and we saw it a lot out in New Hampshire in
At Stonehenge, USA.
Stonehenge, USA, the ladder symbol.
Yeah, the ladder type symbol.
Right.
I think it's
I call it the ladder
the
symbol.
broken ladder symbol, I
Right.
think is what it is, but.
And so we saw that a lot today too.
Oh, absolutely.
And of course the Eye of Horus, in the same shape as the one on the stone, which is remarkable because there's different versions of the Eye of Horus. And a lot of people would argue with me when I show them the pictures of the Macintosh stone. And folks, if you ever want to see the Macintosh stone, go up to Nahum. And
It needs surgeon.
it does. Thank you for the name the rest of the time.
Absolutely.
And ask Charlie to see it. Now we're hoping to get up and see Charlie
This summer.
this summer and actually give a talk up there.
Yeah, the goal is to have some sort of meeting up there this year.
And folks, I strongly suggest you come and see a slide because as it was pointed out by my new friend Joe, that when I'm on camera, my forehead tends to throw a lot of glare off apparently. And you won't get that if you see me live. Well, you might, but it'll make sense then to wear sunglasses while watching. So,
On top of that, we also seen an example of them using petroglyphs and hieroglyphs together,
yeah.
and that being an acceptable.
Pictographs,
Yeah, sorry.
pectographs, and hieroglyphs. And generally you started seeing stuff like that going from the early dynasties into the mid dynasties.
Yeah.
Because they were changing right. And this is what we see on the Macintosh stone.
Correct.
Is we see a blend of pictographs
Hieroglyphs and pictographs.
right working together. To me, that is normal. The argument of the naysayers is you don't normally see unless it is right at that transition, which is what I've always said.
Right.
It is that is coming from the early dynasties or pre-dynastic Egypt,
Okay.
which would be, just before the first dynasty, just before they decided to build pyramids and everything else.
What years are we looking at in that?
It's still right around 3000.
Okay.
Right in the Minoan time. You have to remember, Minoan was doing heavy trading
Right.
at this time. And we saw other beautiful things there. We walked around, and it hit me on the way home, and I didn't say anything. Did you notice that they moved the Native American and the ancient American site way far away from all the.
The Native American section is completely on the other side of the museum from any.
That way you
house.
can't compare things.
That's a good way to look at it.
You can't really compare. Look, we've seen this over there, which is why when we went into the ancient Near East section, I said start paying attention to how they did the pottery, look at the art, the pottery, and everything else, and you'll start seeing some similarities when we get over to the native. And there's a lot of similarities.
Absolutely.
No two pots are alike because everything is hand done. But you start looking at styles and shapes and decorations, and you start seeing a lot of
In the
commonality.
Native American section, they even have like a video playing showing how they make the pottery and things of that sort.
Right, and guess what? It's very much similar to how they did it in the ancient Near East.
So absolutely.
So we saw that, and so I'm going around the Native American section, and she says, "We already went there." I said, "You don't understand. I am looking for a picture." Folks, they have a picture there, a giant picture of the world's largest marble. Perfectly round boulder.
I was gonna say marble is a.
And the thing of it is they have a picture of one. They don't show the fact that there's literally a lot of these out there, and they're all buried in a line, in different lines.
No, the picture was taken out of Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Yeah, and literally, they found that because they were going to start banana farming in the area, and as they were starting to get the area ready, they started finding it. So the owner of Dole at that time said, "No, we're not going to put it here because these are all artifacts." So they moved the location so they wouldn't disturb the artifacts, which I give them great credit for that. And so they started looking at these giant. These are big, round, huge, taller than me, some of them boulders, in perfect spheres. And they're laid in lines. And someone started drawing the lines and continuing the lines that they made.
Mhm.
One set is a perfect line right through the point of the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Okay.
Takes you right to the point of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The other one, right through the solstice domes of Stonehenge,
Stonehenge over
in
in
London,
London.
just
Okay.
outside of London, yeah. Another one, I mean, you keep going, one goes to Easter Island. You continue lines, goes right through to Easter Island. Another one goes right through Isle Royale.
Oh, I didn't know that. I know
Yeah.
we had talked about the other ones earlier, but
Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't know.
One goes up through Isle Royale. So these are all sites that you and I are saying there's a connection with all these sites.
So absolutely, because not unfortunately, this isn't the first time we've seen connections between these sites
No,
within our research ourselves.
absolutely not. We see it all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
And which is why we, to learn from Dr. Gabriel Barkai, we don't neglect any artifact.
No,
And we research it. Now, all of this, we can research it, and if it all comes out saying it's all just one big, huge coincidence after another big, huge coincidence after another big, huge coincidence, if that's what it is, that's what it is.
But we definitely want to make sure that we're investigating
Well-
every single piece to understand if that's the picture or not.
Well, we're trying to find out the history of mankind.
Right.
That's what archaeologists do. And by the way, folks, that's exactly what archaeologists do. We do not research dinosaurs. That goes to the paleontologists. Those are the strange little guys that run around looking for lizards. That's not us. All right?
So the way we talked about it earlier, I asked Rick myself. I said, Rick, why are we going to an art museum? We're archaeologists. We're not.
Yeah.
We're not here to look at art. We're not art
And
fanatics.
what did I say? By the way, folks, I'm an art fanatic.
Art in fact.
Yeah,
We're
artifacts.
looking at artifacts.
Art and fact. A dear friend of mine, I was on his, I was on Land Radio talking about our project. And a dear friend of mine, Ed Hoffman, joined me. He has a show called Speaking of Art. And he came out and said, I don't like the term artifact. I said, hold on, why not? Folks, these microphones were created by an artist.
Right.
All right, they were designed by an artist. That iPad was designed by an artist. All right, my phone, this table was designed by an artist. This backdrop. I don't care if you look at the lights on the switch. They had the design and everything else because they were created and informed by somebody with an imagination to come up with that concept. That is art.
Yeah, I mean, you might not be called an artist, but
It-
you might be a designer.
Right.
Or, I mean.
But in the end, it's art.
Absolutely.
And so when we look at stuff, we are looking at culture. What drove the culture to come up with that art, that artifact? What drove them to do that? Why did they do that? What does it mean? Why they did it?
What does that, maybe that piece of art held value in another instance of, maybe it was used for something else, like pots or spoons or pipes and
Right.
things like that. There was lots and lots of art within pipes.
I may have talked to this on one of the earlier ones. There used to be an oil lamp that was common in Israel.
We did talk about this.
And it was always called the Jerusalem oil lamp because the design on it, beautiful, absolutely beautiful artwork on it, was always affiliated to these oil lamps made down near Jerusalem, or what they call the Southern Levant lamp sometimes. And then all of a sudden, up near the Sea of Galilee, outside of this little tiny village called Nazareth, they're digging and they start finding a bunch of these Jerusalem lamps or Southern Levant lamps, and they found out no, they were actually making them here, up in the northern parts by the Sea of Galilee.
There was a whole factory.
It was a whole little,
Right.
what they would have called a factory there. It was a very artisan village. You had, they found a house that would have been that of what they called a carpenter back then. By the way, what they call a carpenter and what we call a carpenter today is two different things. They did more work with stone than they did with wood. But what they call a carpenter's house, they think this very much could have been the house of Joseph, the house Jesus grew up in as a child. Which I have to be honest with you. Could you imagine being father, having to raise Jesus, the difficulty. I mean, how do you tell him no?
How do you raise a perfect child?
Right. Well, yeah. But they called these oil lamps, and all of a sudden we started learning not just that the lamp wasn't made just in Jerusalem, it was also made in the north. Same art design, same concept, but they're finding fingerprints of these failed lamp tips. As artists, so not everything works out, and they have little tiny fingerprints on them, made by kids. So now we started finding, hey, could be a family business. What they were teaching the kids.
And that's what we talked about a little bit,
Right.
last time we had talked about, we're only seeing the director's cut, we're only seeing whoever wrote the
Right.
story. And we're not seeing the lives, we're, in America, where most of the time you're seeing the perspective of a rich white man,
Or
an educated white man.
no matter what art you get, it is always from the point of view of the person writing it.
Well, absolutely.
I mean, if you really think about this, Harry Potter was written by a woman, and therefore, and you actually see a lot more of the nurturing side of the story brought out to the forefront by J.K. Rowling's that you may not have gotten had you had WWF wrestler writing the same story.
Okay.
Okay, but so all history is written, and all art things are written with the bias of the writer, not intentionally to be mean, not intentionally to
No, because that was the point.
mislead.
But the way that we were able to see, like with these lamps, we're able to see just a glimpse into what it was like to be a kid in Nazareth or in Jerusalem.
And then you can start imagining that some of those conversations. Mom, Dad made me work too hard. I made 700 oil lamps today, and he only paid me for two lamps. That's it.
And that's not the other
That's
698.
You start imagining those types of conversations. Doesn't mean they actually happen, but and
They're
that
fun to throw
it's
around.
fun to throw around. But it's also again what happens with history is we start looking at history from the current perspectives too. But as my friend was on the radio show went, I had to point out that everything that man makes or creates or designs in one shape, form, or another is art.
Absolutely.
And it speaks to the culture at the time. And our job as archaeologists is to decipher what culture looked like in a specific area at that time. And what caused that to move in that direction. So when we start finding labyrinths
Right.
drawn into artwork all over the world, and we start finding that these countries that were in the Stone Age, so to speak, but we're finding bronze objects. They never went through a bronze age.
Right.
Where was the bronze coming from? Where was this trading coming from? How was it being transported? How was it being traded? They talk about Manhattan being traded for a bag full of beads. Well, those beads came from somewhere and they ended up with someone, and now those beads became part of the culture of the tribe that took the beads. The tribe that took the beads, come find out, didn't really own that island. They sold their neighbors' land and laughed at them, took off. But those beads became now part of their culture.
Right.
Now, chances are they went to make more, and they learned from that.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the future.
That really asks the question to us as archaeologists of where did these things come from? How
Right.
did these things come about? How did these things get here?
How did Charlie Stone?
Absolutely.
And Charlie found a rock. He was looking for agate. He was looking for Petoskey stone. He was looking for neat rocks up on the shoreline.
Right.
And he finds something that he thinks has just got a design in it. Stone doesn't know what he has.
Right.
No big thing.
You just started smooth
Yeah.
the stone is what he found and popped it in his pocket later.
It ended up having a whole lot of really neat stuff on it. And
I don't know if we would be as far in our project today if Charlie didn't pick up that.
our project would have gone in a different direction.
Absolutely.
And I mean that sincerely, and here's why. Because not only did we get that picture of, all right, there's Egyptian, right? And folks might be saying, well, I thought you guys were talking Minoan, and you're saying it's known as Egyptian. Minoans traded.
Absolutely,
They traded for everything, including labor,
absolutely.
which means they had people from other lands working on their sites.
Like a bond servant, right?
Bond servant concept, yeah. Back then, you let's say you were a gardener, and you say, hey, listen, I will garden your land for the next 7 years if you take care of my family for that time. And okay, we'll take care of your family, but you have to take care of that garden for the next 7 years. When you made that contract, you could not back out. You try to back out, that's punishable by death. You could buy your way out for whatever the
Same way when we were going through at the DIA today, we're looking at cuneiform on these little tablets, these tiny little tablets. And there are receipts. There are receipts for purchasing of goods. There are receipts for labor. There are receipts
grain,
for absolutely.
work, bond servanthood, everything else. Everything was done in contract. And these are old. It's all cuneiform, which just means what shape, what grade.
Right.
So they would trade for labor. And this would mean on a Minoan ship, you could have people from the Levant. You could have people from Canaan, or Ur, as I know it as, or from the Levant, the Judah area in Jerusalem, and people like that jumping on board, which would be why you have one tablet that is loaded with linear A and linear B, which is Proto-Greek. And next thing you know is you have ancient Hebrew also
right along the side of it.
right along the side of it. And because the two cultures traveled together on the Noah ship.
And they all wanted to be represented to some extent.
They want to be representative, but I'm finding that most of the artifacts that we're finding a lot of times have some religious connotation to it.
Okay.
So a lot of time it was them reaching out to their gods, you say travel, or their gods.
Right.
The Newberry Stone had three idols,
Three idols.
an adult male, female, and a younger god.
Now, obviously, we're not sure how true this part of the story is, but we believe that they were all buried facing the east, correct?
So that's the understanding we have, is they were facing the east. We don't have pictures, and we weren't there to see it in situ.
Unfortunately.
But the three gods do meet that of the Canaanite gods.
Right.
The three primary Canaanite gods, Ashtaroth, Baal, and El. I knew I could think of it. El. So El was the old man.
Okay.
Ashtaroth was the old woman, and Baal, the son of the two of them. And generally, when you see them together, that was the triad of gods. That was the big three. So to put tribute to those three gods meant they were actually looking for protection. Okay, so you have that, but then we find in Tennessee at.
I want to pause for a moment.
Okay.
I want to jump back to they're looking for protection.
Yeah.
And the big thing we've been talking about tonight is when we look at an artifact, we're looking for the story. We're looking at what questions does that artifact bring up for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we found these idols.
Right.
We found this tablet, all buried together, all facing the east.
East, and by the way, that ancient Hebrew on the top, it says something.
It does.
It doesn't just letter. It says the C, not the letter C.
SEA.
SEA in the C, and now that could have made reference to the Big Lake, because you're not that far from Superior, and then we're all sitting here because this place is haunted. There's a ghost up in Nema Inn, and I am afraid that we may have brought it back with us. So, but I think we're giving Charlie a lot of free advertising.
Oh, always. Charlie, we're so lucky to have you.
Oh, that was nothing, and I gotta get back on track, because, meeting
So-
Charlie's taking us into a total different direction. I
Absolutely.
don't wanna get there. We're not saying where, folks, but Charlie, when we went up there, he says, you gotta see this area I want you to see. We went out and we started looking at it. And we may have found a very ancient site that we went in there and did some, we did some underground surveying and no digging,
No digging, no, nothing that needed a permit, I promise.
We did find some discarded beer cans, a few inches underground. Well, by some I mean a lot.
Quite a few.
But
And I
no,
think we found
we
some
found
shells and things like
Yeah.
that, like hunting stuff.
shells, not seashells, shotgun shells.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
But really old shotgun shells. No, but we also
They
found with the underground imaging we used, we found some pretty interesting stuff that I'm getting very anxious to. Same stuff that I want to get looked at property where Newberry Tavern was.
Right.
That property has never been investigated. And had we not met Charlie,
We wouldn't have.
we probably would not even be thinking we had hope of doing it.
Right.
And Charlie's opening up doors for us.
Oh, absolutely.
And then it's I can't get too much into detail. There's stuff that happened on a TV show everyone watches. The Oak Island thing. And they found something that I know exactly what it is. I mean, I know exactly what it is. I can show you pictures of other examples of it in other places. There is no doubt. I know exactly what it is and what it means and what it can mean even more. And
So,
the problem
Medina
is-
Brothers, if you guys are watching, definitely get in touch. We'd love to sit down and have a conversation.
Right, because what they have is actually huge, and it goes with something they found this season. And I'm sitting there saying, yes, of course they found that, because it belongs. It's part of the puzzle, and they don't realize they have a piece of the puzzle to another part of the island that the two come
Oh.
together. I'll tell you about it after
I
I'm
have
here.
not been
Updated
as
on
closely
this.
following this season.
Oh, I have, because I'm still saying, how do I get in touch? And Charlie is working hard because he knows some people who knows people, you know, who eventually cut down a tree in one of their backyards or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, our direction for our work in Michigan
Our direction
definitely
for our work in Michigan has
definitely
definitely been changed and
changed
influenced.
because of Charlie.
And we appreciate you more than anything for that.
So next time I come up, I'm bringing a bottle of scotch. Again.
Again, I don't know if I can handle another scotch night with the two of you.
We behave.
Sometimes.
So we went to DIA, and then we saw, a big point I wanted to make, is we saw a lot of the design of the arts that were common between the Egyptian site, the ancient Near East site. Then we got up to the Greek site.
Yeah, we got up to the Greek area.
And,
That's where I had originally found what I believed to be a swastika. I was like, that's different to them to before.
well, it's an old symbol, and it's used in a lot of different cultures. Now, a lot of people will say that's just coincidence, but when you have that same coincidence going from culture to culture to culture to culture, and you can almost sit and draw a line in the map
Right.
to all these cultures, you start saying, well, who traveled that and why did that become important?
Right.
And none of them goose stepped, and none of them were Nazis, right? Because it goes long before them.
Right.
And so what were the meanings? And if you actually look at the swastika, now this is going to blow everybody's mind right away. If you look at it, what it is the 4 different seasonal positions of the Big Dipper.
Oh,
If you draw out the 4 different seasonal positions of the Big Dipper, you get this swastika looking design. It is a picture of the sky
wow.
of the Big Dipper. Yeah, see, I was saying that.
So
For
what,
just for this moment, I was saying that.
so what kind of, I mean, going to what we know the swastika to be today, what
Well-
kind of influence did Hitler have on the stars?
I don't know. Hitler was just, he says, that's a neat design, I'll steal it.
That's possible, that's
okay.
possible.
But where we see the use of that a lot, it's not just over in Europe, but we see that in Mississippi and the football cultures.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and here in the
Down in
United States.
Alabama and.
And a stone that I love very much down there, that I really want to get in and see, also uses the layout of the swastika, if you look at it, not so much so blatantly.
Are you referring to?
Yeah, I don't want to say it, because then they won't let me see it. There are certain things that if they are protected pieces under the NAGPRA laws,
Mhm.
they become very difficult to even look at, to see.
And with us working such a controversial topic and working
Yeah,
such
and what's sad about it is we're not even trying to hurt their culture, we're trying to prove it. We're trying to
right,
prove
right,
their-
we're
their-
trying to prove their origins and their tales.
Yeah, they're historical narratives.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of the Hopewell and Mississippian will use the swastika, but it's always in line with the stars. And a lot of times you'll see, I always love it, they got a little critter, he's my favorite little critter in their artwork, a little raccoon. He's kind of like the Loki.
Right. He's our mischief maker.
He's mischief maker, and it makes sense, he's a raccoon. But they have the tree of life, and the tree of life jumps up into, generally at the top, you'll see what we call the Hamza hand. Now, the Hamza hand comes from Egypt.
Right.
All right, but they have a Hamza hand on the stone, right down with the eye.
Right, yeah,
Right?
even with the Eye of Horus, right?
And so, and this way you can start making the swastika is because of the directions between the eyes on. It's the rattlesnake. It's the rattlesnake disc. I said. But if you line up the eyes and you start lining everything else, you start getting the positioning of where the Big Dipper is during the different seasons for travel, and which goes into the navigation.
And now, is that how we're, I was gonna say, is that how we're using
Yeah.
navigation of?
That starts getting into the use of it more than just a calendar, but it also becomes useful as a navigational tool.
Now, based on your theory, you don't believe that this was a one singular disc operation, correct?
No, there's little notches on the outside of the disc. Now this is
Notches as like maybe like a year?
like a gear.
Okay.
Yeah, very much like a gear. Nice lead in. Yeah, just like a gear. I've used that term before. And what would happen is you could run it, and we know that they've had other stones on this where you'd have either another big half arch that had the gear marks on it, where you'd roll it across,
Okay.
take your stone and roll it across, and it would line up different.
Now, is
Areas.
that the way it would line up with different areas, or is that
Yes.
the way it would line up with different seasons?
Both.
Okay,
And basically, depending on the season you would in, it would be where you'd start the stone on the roll.
okay.
All right. And so you could pretty much say, this is where I'm going to be, or this is where it's going to be like there, 200 miles. But it would also give you star lineups. This is why when we went in to the planetarium, and I asked them,
Where was that at?
we went to a couple, I think that was at the U of M planetarium. There was the U of M planetarium where I asked him to go back to
Yeah.
3000 BCE, and he said, we don't have BCE's setting. And I said, well, can you go back to negative 3000?
Hey, it worked.
It worked, Go back to negative 3000 then. Just because you don't have BCE or BCE setting, okay, go to 0 and then go back 3000 more. Yeah, right?
Negative?
And I sat there, and when he did that, my mouth about hit the floor, because when I first looked at the rattlesnake disc, I'm sitting there, I'm saying something is wrong. I keep coming off wrong on this. And to be honest with you, I forgot all about the earth tilt scenario.
Not there until Earth wobble.
The earth wobble. So the earth wobble, I forgot all about it. I'm saying, why am I off?
Why am I off this
This it's only a little bit, but by the time you get out in space, that little bit is
Right. We were able to base that off of how far
Yeah.
North Star from us.
Right. So I said, this can't be right, because if this is right, the North Star would not be the North Star. And come to find out, it wasn't the North Star back then. The North Star was not the unmovable star
Right.
back then. And it was off exactly what I needed it to be off for that stone to sit there and say, this is giving me a stellar lineup.
Right.
And not only is it giving me stellar lineup, now it's also giving me, just with this one stone, if I go down to the site where this found, and if I get on one hill and I stand on another hill that lines up perfectly with the summer solstice on the two hills, and I line it up down there at this point, it takes me right over to England. Not just to England, but it cuts right through the Stonehenge.
What were we just saying
Yeah.
maybe a couple of minutes
Exactly.
ago?
So
Well, and
all of a sudden it all lined up. So our thing was to try to get some pictures.
Right.
We don't need to touch it. We just want to get full pictures, a lot of images, lots and lots and lots of images, and to see if that adds up. And I'm not trying to say that they came over here and populated America, that Europeans came over here and populated. That's not what I'm saying at all. The ancient narratives of the people that live here, of the first peoples that live here, they talk about people coming and visiting them.
Right.
So here's how they came and visited them. And I don't want to go in and destroy religious sites, because even if this goes back to visitors back 3000 BC, doesn't mean that these sites have not become very important to the Native Americans today.
Right.
They have. So we don't want to destroy them. So I'm saying, let's take what we do have, find out the history, prove their oral histories, and prove or disprove
Yeah, prove or disprove and
their oral
understand.
histories. But then we'll be understanding the history of how cultures were affected and moved within this nation.
Affected and moved, how diffusionism comes into play. Really just understanding the origins of America.
And folks, if you keep wondering why I keep leaning away, you'll see later what happens to me when I disagree with her on a reel.
Oh, no. That reel came out about 15 minutes before we went live.
Oh, yeah. So you watch that reel, you know why I'm terrified of her. So we had a lot of fun at the DIA today. And I've seen lots of signs of diffusionism
Oh, absolutely.
between.
Between different pieces of artwork, between different, I mean, even just the use of seals throughout.
Right. Yeah, throughout the whole Middle Eastern.
Right.
Back then, using a seal was kind of like us signing a check.
Okay.
Instead of using a pen, they would run their seal across the plate. The cuneiform tablets we're talking about. A lot of times they would sign them in the end with their seal. Whether it be a roll across like a cylinder seal, like you saw a lot of those today, or a little
Or a
square
press.
seal, or a press seal. Right.
It's kind of what it makes sense to me.
And regardless, that was their way of signing their contract or anything else. There's a story of Judah and Tamar in the Bible where he gives his staff and his seal as collateral until he can come back with the goat he owes him.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and he comes back with the goat, she's gone. Well, he had just given her like all of his blank checks that are signed.
Right.
By giving him that seal. And that staff, back then, they would actually put their lineage and their family on that staff. That was their ID. So between having that seal and that staff, she could sign any contract for Judah and, come out owning largest diamond mine in South Africa.
Now I heard right.
Right. So that's not something you just hand out. This is one of the reasons why when
So
you
you
find
would keep that
seals,
seal like you would
protect
keep
it.
a security guard.
yeah, you would protect it a lot and not give it up.
Right.
Especially for a goat. Don't do that. Folks, it's been a lot of fun. Go down to visit DIA. And we went and had a wonderful lunch afterwards.
Yes, we did.
Go down, check out Andiamo's on the river, and Detroit is only a few minutes from it. Wonderful food. Brian was our waiter. He was fantastic. Great service there today.
Absolutely.
Great food, great service. So check out Andiamo's and check out the DIA. It's really worth the trip. And today they had a special tea, Japanese tea thing going on.
Yeah, and Japanese tea ceremony going on.
Yeah, and
tribute something.
beautiful music. I just love Japanese music. Just love it. There's always something happening at the DIA. They've got great little coffee place down there, somewhere to eat. As I say, the past is always hungry. So, well, that's good. Somebody's eating the present.
Oh,
That's why I say that. The past is always hungry. It's always eating up the present. So, and aiming towards the future.
absolutely. But thank you guys all for jumping on this evening. Any questions, anything like that, please go ahead and throw them in the comments. Messages on Facebook. Anything you want to know a little bit more about, we will be touching on
There.
Thera and
Hopefully
how
not.
it was much bigger than Vesuvius. hopefully on our next live in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and the reason I broke away from that a lot was because I wanted to say my farewell to Dr. Burkott.
Oh, absolutely.
And then events
Yeah,
happened
that's
that put us in the DIA today. And that's, when you go there, it's my favorite place in Michigan to go, other
That's
than,
a great place to talk about.
other than the name I am,
Yes.
in name of Michigan, which is Sturgeon in Ojibwe. You all have a great night.
Have a
Good
great
night.